I said, why is it called a rectum if I'm not supposed to rack it? Ha ha.
Swallow for Jesus.
Go. 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 Praise the Lord.
Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Adequate. Our continuing mission until we are cancelled and replaced by something far superior. To review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence. To seek out new guests. And make them very uncomfortable. To boldly go where many other YouTube shows have gone before. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Happy Kwanzaa, everybody, Treks and Trekkers, boys and girls. It is I, Captain Goodwill, and this is Trekking Up North. Joining me, as ever, is the delectable Yesian from the planet... See, he did that for me there. That was ventriloquism. It was beautiful. It was ventriloquism without him having his hand up my arse. Again.
See,
it is Science Officer
Synoiz. I learned this the hard way. I learned it the hard way that, it's not ventriloquism when it's fisting. So it's, but...
I have got a very hot holiday. I have got a very hot cup of tea, so be very careful this week.
What's that? Don't make you laugh and spill boiling hot water over yourself.
Listen, spitters as sinners. It has been quite a week, so all myself and Synoiz have got to say is, fuck this week. However, we are here to review the premiere season 3 episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, Evolution.
AKA, oh look, Beverly's back.
Right there. What time
it's just like, don't worry, there's been far too much good doctoring on this ship.
There has.
Been away.
Some might say Pulaski exceeded her data.
I do like it though that everyone's just like suddenly like the death rate just goes through the roof, and they're just like, oh no.
Speaking of death rate, hello Joe Dove from Captain's Quadrant. He is up and running. He is back. He's successfully recovered from his surgery to become more American. He has transplanted his colon with a bald eagle. He is
wow. You can't get that on the NHS, can you?
No,
well, okay, so
we're the National Hawk Service. Okay. National Hawk Service. Do you get it? Because we don't have eagles.
I'll just put a badger up there.
Oh, again. Hello to everybody in the chat. Hello to Christopher. Hello to Sarah. Hello to David. Hello to Joe Dove. Hello to Beth. Shut up, Beth. Hello to Paul. Is that Paul? I don't know. Is he bald and angry? Yes, it's Paul. And David Hope. We have had some good news this week. Although the week has been mostly crap, we received a little bit of good news on Tuesday evening from those folks. Well, I won't spoil it, but we did get what I'd like to call, if I can find it, an incoming transmission.
I love that you're like, oh, I don't want to spoil it. And I'm like, you've told everyone in the universe.
No, I haven't.
Like,
incoming transmission!
Incoming transmission.
Who doesn't know about this?
Shut up, you're ruining the bit. Oh! That's right, me and Science Officer Synoiz and the Nerdy Up North crew are heading to the suicide capital of the UK to a Star Trek convention.
Hold on. There's Blackpool
Are they linked?
out Birmingham.
Are they linked? Come and join us to find out.
You're determined to burn your mouth with that. You're just like, what is in that tea?
Earl Grey, hot. That's right. We are heading to Destination Trek in Blackpool on the 28th of July to host Trekking Up North Live from the Norbreck Castle in Blackpool, right on the seafront. They thought we could not get anyone else more decent And they literally looked underneath the barrel, and we were, hello.
Where is the bottom of the bucket? That's what they were thinking. They were
There
just
is,
like, okay,
there
we
is
are
no
the
bucket.
equal opportunities placement for this. we are literally ticking quotas because they're just like, okay, we've got to give it to the poor and needy. So, like, let's get us in.
One man is financially destitute and the other is a homosexual. They'll do 11 a.m.
They'll do. Yeah, you're talking about my dating pool now. But it's I do. See, the problem is I haven't even bloody confirmed I can go yet because I've got this other thing I'm meant to be doing that I'm gonna have to cancel. And
it's okay. I've hired a stunt double
this week to actually bring up the courage to cancel it. So I'm like, oh.
We've got a stunt double. It's Paul.
Just take an egg. Just literally take... Actually, no, I've got a stunt double I've been using today for a recording thing, okay? This is what you can take in the place of it, okay? Here we go. We have the velvet starch.
The velvet starch!
Yeah, it's basically because I've been too ill this week to get into drag. I've had to make a video for my mixed drag campaign, and I couldn't get into drag in order to record some lines. So I went, I know, I'll just paint a potato and have the voiceover over the top of it, which is high science, I think. Yeah.
So we've offended Blackpool. We are currently offending Ireland. Who else could we possibly offend?
Catholics.
Wow. Famine what?
Oh, hello there. I'm the Velvet Starch.
Right. If you can't make it, I'm taking that potato and I'm going to get one of those phone intercoms from Charlie's Angels. Or I'm just going to get like a hand puppet. So it's just going to be like, where is it there? Hello.
No, we need to install some kind of thing so you pull the string on the back of it and it just says "fuck the Tories."
Hey!
What do you think about that?
How's that for branding? No one clipped that. And suddenly we weren't asked back. But yes, the 28th of July at Norbrett Castle in Blackpool, trekking up north in one way or another, will be live from Destination Trek. I will be in the same room as Connor Trinier, and I will shout across the room, "My frosted tips are better than yours!
My frosted tips are tingling!"
And then he'll go, "Who's that man?" And he'll go, "That's Captain Goodwill." Oh, kill him. The...
Execute Order 66.
60. Good.
Do it. I've been watching. Because I was so ill on Wednesday. Like I had to just, when you're so like, one of the massive things about being a workaholic is understanding when you need to not. Like when you're actually hindering yourself trying to work. And Wednesday, I had so much stuff to organize. I had so much stuff to do and edit and whatnot. But I was so ill that I just had to be like, I'm not doing any of it. And I sat in the sun in the garden, and then I got on the sofa and ordered takeaway, and then just watched all of like the Star Wars prequel trilogy in like a day. And aside from the Phantom Menace, they're actually quite good. Phantom Menace is a big pile of shit, Sammy. In case she's watching, and it was just like, I'm so pleased I did because I was so much better the day after. But there was that bit in my mind being like, keep working, keep doing it. You've got to get through this and whatnot. And it's just not good for you kind of thing. So I've forgotten how I got onto that point. But it basically meant that I was able to relax a little bit this week. But I'm just, I'm excited about Destination Trek because Andrew Robinson is there.
He is.
Like, that is literally one of my... Obviously, I'd love to have met Renee Aubergenois, but it's going to be a difficult one now, I think. But
nonsense, we have a Ouija board. The guests for Destination Trek 2024, which is July 26th to the 28th, it is Armin Shimmerman, who's Quark, Robert Duncan McNeil, Tom Paris, Tim Russ, Tuvok.
Well, no, who else does Robert Duncan McNeil play?
Nick Lacano.
Right, cool. That's the important one.
You tried to test me and you failed. Connor
sensor
Trinier.
once tried to test me.
Connor Trinier without the frosted tips. Sirach Lofton, who was Jake Sisko.
Wow.
Andrew Robinson.
I have to say, I love Sir Lofton because he just doesn't give a shit. He's just like, I'm just happy to be here, and I kind of love that attitude.
Those are the so far confirmed guests of Destination Trek.
That's so much DS9.
And what is terrifying is we can add ourselves to the lists of guests appearing at Destination Trek.
No.
Yes. Goodwill. Yes.
And Velvet Starch.
The Velvet Starch.
Yeah.
He's quite filling, but he's entertaining. And if he fucks me off, I turn him into a jacket. I'll fill you full of cheese.
Butter me up, Daddy.
Butter. Oh God, don't! I'm absolutely sweltering in this room right now.
Speaking of which, Lee's in the chat. Butter me up, Daddy. But don't.
Is Lee in the chat? As to quote,
he's saying the Phantom Menace is amazing, and I'm like,
no. Prolapse.
You're beautiful, Lee.
Prolapse is amazing. A colonoscopy is amazing. Getting fisted by a cactus is amazing. The Phantom Menace is not. I will point you to an in-depth Mr. Plinkett review of The Phantom Menace, and it will shut you all up. Basically, The Phantom Menace is the worst Star Wars that ever existed. There you go. That is the entire review.
To be fair, no, Last Jedi has done that as that honor now. So The Phantom Menace isn't that
is
bad.
true.
But I do love, though, that there's like fan edits on. We're not even talking about Trek here. I love how there's like fan edits on like YouTube where they basically just went, hey, we're going to re-edit the prequel trilogy to like try and improve them. And it literally just takes the last 5 minutes from Phantom Menace, and that's all it uses from it. It literally starts the Phantom Menace before the mall fight, and then it's like, there you go.
See, for me, I would do a supercut where it just completely destroys the continuity of Star Wars, where Qui-Gon Jinn just takes a lightsaber to a young Anakin Skywalker in the credits roll.
Yeah, just
kill the franchise.
Look, we balance the Force.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, I am trying to stay away from opinions at the moment from this week because I've been attacked from all angles. I've been attacked from all angles, from all bits of social media this week about Star Trek Discovery, and I didn't even mention Star Trek Discovery. But hey ho, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Leave me the fuck alone. It's still got bad writing. The reason we are here tonight, however, is to review the Next Generation episode Evolution, Season 3, Episode 1. This is a Wesley Crusher episode, and we were going to start this week. We were going to bring back a poll this week. However,
we're both incompetent.
We're both incompetent. We are both busy. We are both ill, and the poll would have only had one answer. So the question was, we
came up with like 2 questions, and then both of them were just yes or no type answers, or one response.
One of them would have got us destroyed. Yeah, it would have got us.
One of them would have got us destroyed. So we're not going to mention that one. But
but the question was, how would have Wesley Crusher, how could have Wesley Crusher better handled the situation?
And I suggested that the only option is fuck off.
Not being Wesley Crusher, but nevertheless, he is here.
Can you do that? Can you make a Twitter poll that just has one option?
I wonder what the results may be. I'll be worried if it's like anything under 100%, because then I know Elon Musk is tampering. But yeah, we get a lot of firsts in this episode for Next Generation. We get the new uniforms, which were brought in for Season 3 because Patrick Stewart had muscular skeletal issues from the spandex from the first 2 seasons, because the spandex was very constricted and very revealing, but it was in a way that because it grasps, say, like around the torso and the spine, it was actually causing skeletal issues that meant that Patrick Stewart required a chiropractor. And they said, if you don't change these uniforms so they're a little bit more liberating, that more of the cast are going to encounter issues and very serious skeletal issues that are hard to revert. So we see the introduction of the 2-piece, which is the Picard maneuver. This is where the Picard maneuver first comes in. We also see, and I don't know what his character was in Scrubs, because forgive me, it has been a while, Dr. Paul Stubbs from Scrubs. I don't know what his role was in Scrubs, but he's in here. We see the return of Dr. Crusher, like you say. There are two stories for Gates McFadden and why she departed the Next Generation. The official one from Paramount at the time was Gates McFadden was pursuing other career options.
Yeah.
The unofficial one that Gates McFadden received from her agent was Paramount wanted to go in a different direction for a nurse. And just how successful was that? Although I love Dana Mulder, we needed Crusher back to murder people.
See, it's an odd one because obviously, like, I do prefer Pulaski. I think I'm in the minority that I much prefer Dr. Pulaski in for Next Generation because I think she adds to the cast dynamic a lot because there isn't really anyone antagonistic. The closest we have is Worf, like, who's basically a sort of a grumpy guts kind of thing. But I like the fact that she is at loggerheads with the crew a lot. And it's the same vibe as we have. I think they went with her for season 2 because they were like, oh, we need a Dr. McCoy kind of character. And they basically brought her in to be that. But then it meant that they missed out on this kind of mothering energy that they kind of get with Beverly Crusher. But annoyingly, though, Beverly Crusher just isn't a very good doctor in Star Trek. Like,
it's good though
in the scheme of things.
It's good though that it is a Crusher episode, and it's not just a Wesley episode. It is a Crusher family episode because we see that Crusher has been away for a year at Starfleet Medical, and she's having to get to grips with her son, who is like 2 inches taller. He is older. He is more mature. And he just does not have the time because he is devoted all of his life over the last year in getting into Starfleet Academy. He's an acting officer on the ship. He is dedicated to his studies and his duties. And Beverly Crusher is sort of like, you need to be a 17-year-old. You need to learn when to switch off. You need to learn when to have fun. And this episode shows I felt seen at the beginning of this episode because this was a graphic depiction of me and Synoiz's life at the moment, where we are just asleep at a desk in the middle of doing something.
I often fall asleep in the middle of very dangerous science experiments.
We did the Helldivers 2 stream last night on Nerdy Up North's Twitch channel, and I absolutely did not positively fall asleep on the floor with my headset still on after we'd finished the stream.
Oh no, bloody hell.
Luckily, the headset was turned off. Otherwise, you would have got like an entire Twitch channel of... But it shows how
dedicated... At least you got some sleep, though. It's better than your usual, I got 2 hours of sleep this week. And it's like, Goodwill, please try.
I have stopped wearing my smartwatch at night because my smartwatch is just like, I give up. I really just give up. Just fucking stay awake. Just eat all the coffee beans. It'll be easier, he says, consuming high caffeine tea.
But I think the main theme in this episode, because like you say, it's a Crusher episode, because it's basically like she's been away for a year. She got kicked out of Starfleet Academy for basically lying on her CV, I suspect. So they went, okay, we'll put you back on the Enterprise, where you can do a bit more practical damage.
I would have liked to. Honestly, sorry to interrupt. I just want to go back to. I would have loved if they I went to Starfleet Medical, but I would have loved if they would have properly explained this in Picard season 3, that this was the year that her and Picard did the Heiny Kleiny Bang Bang, and that's where we got Jack Crusher. Because it would have made more sense chronologically given Ed Milner's age, but apparently not. It was 10 years later.
It's a bit weird though, because you just kind of go like, okay, so they did the spicy space bang bang, and then she just goes, I'll just go and give birth in a cave somewhere, and then forget about him for 6 more seasons, and you just kind of go like, none of these scenarios paint Crusher in a good light.
She raised him in London, the
him.
safest stabbing capital of the UK, so it's fine.
Don't worry, I'll put him in Blackpool. What a lovely place that is. But But it's
July
really like
28th.
that's it.
Anyway.
Find Crusher's baby. Come with us to Blackpool to find Crusher's baby. But but no, but the other theme of the episode
Hang
though.
on. If Ed Milner goes to DST, that is the tagline. That is the tagline. Trekking up north goes to find Crusher's illegitimate love child. Yes!
I'm there, checking all the bins.
You hear me, Milner? We're coming for you! Milner!
But the main wonderful theme about the episode though, because it is about Wesley, but from a distance, it's the idea of like the path that Wesley's going through in life. And we have this new character that joins us for this episode called Paul Stubbs, who is played fantastically, but he basically represents the path that Wesley is going down, where it's the idea of a child prodigy who achieved a lot early on, but then had massive expectations of himself, and never got to really live a life. And it's kind of created someone who is absolutely sort of controlled by their mother. They are, they feel this constant pressure on them to achieve everything. The only thing important to them is their work. They've never actually had a life outside of that. And him basically trying to convey to, he tries to convey to Wesley that it's been a bad thing, but then he does kind of say, hey, we're the same. We can do all of this stuff. But by example of him being a bit of a dickhead through the course of this episode, he's setting a lesson to Wesley to basically be like, hey, do you want to be this guy? I mean, I don't want to be rude, but like there's a member of my family who I won't name. There's a member of my extended family who is has been a wonderful, wonderful aspect of my life because I can look at them and go, as long as I'm not doing that, that's good, And so it allows me to kind of see an example of someone else and then just be like, okay, cool. Whatever I'm doing, I'm kind of going okay here. And as long as I don't react to stuff or act in that kind of way to stuff, then it's better, it kind of really has helped me, stay sort of on the right track, I think. And I think that's what Paul Stubbs is to Wesley in this episode. He's a life lesson.
He's a life lesson, but the brief synopsis for this episode, I'll read it out because I need to get it back on Memory Alpha before I give you the rundown of the episode, shall we say. Memory Alpha is the Star Trek wiki that we constantly reference and are always glad that it's there. So the synopsis is: an obsessed scientist arrives on the Enterprise to perform a once-in-a-lifetime experiment. Accidentally released nanites, however, threaten both it and the ship. So basically, the experiment that they are referring to, and I've got it noted down here because I've got them notes, y'all. It is Stardate 43125.8. So season 3, 4.3, everybody. Dr. Paul Stubbs is attempting to study the decay of neutronium expelled at relativistic speeds from a massive stellar explosion that will occur in a matter of hours. Now, this explosion happens like clockwork every 196 years. So Paul Stubbs is, for those less familiar, we will compare him to a Sheldon Cooper-esque prodigy that, as Synoiz has rightly said, is got the weight of the world on their shoulders. They have got the expectations, and their life is their work is their life, and without it they are meaningless. They don't know what it means to live without their work. Every 196 years this explosion occurs at this red giant and neutron star. Every 196 years. If they miss their chance to conduct this experiment, he will never be able to conduct it, and his life's work is down the crapper. So he represents Wesley Crusher if Crusher continues to go down the path he is going. So we will call that the Wesley the Sheldon Cooper route, where it's nothing but study, academia, dedication to the work, and just basically shutting out. I mean, not Sheldon Cooper completely, but more the shutting the entire world out and focusing on your studies, your duties, and the pursuit of academic triumph and just being
it's the
best.
academia route, effectively.
Yes.
It's the idea of making his academic success control his life. You know, and the fact is, obviously, we get a wonderful scene between Dr. Crusher, Wesley, and Dr. Stubbs, where he's basically going, "Oh, I don't have time to socialize. I don't have time to sleep because I need to get into Starfleet. I need to do that." It's always about the next step with Wesley.
Yeah.
And his mum, bizarrely, obviously, because she wouldn't be giving advice like how to succeed in life, is basically going, "Oh, why isn't he doing things? Why isn't he sort of like socializing or being sort of like, you know, a wild child at all?" You know, so she's kind of like disappointed that he's not like other teenagers and he wants to succeed. But it's finding the balance. That's the whole thing. It's the idea of you can have fun, but you still need to succeed. But you can succeed, but you can still have fun. You know.
This is a lesson in this episode is work-life balance, knowing to everything in moderation, shall we
The
say.
irony of us talking about
the hypocrisy of us talking about this. I mean, I haven't worked as hard this week, but I am still feeling it quite a lot.
I genuinely believe that you've just secretly been doing a time-lapse Lego thing.
That video will be coming soon, so help me God. But there was a few lines in this episode that I've highlighted as well. The first one being "launch the egg," which immediately made me think of Lee. But we find that as they are trying to launch the egg, the Enterprise has a few technical issues. And the inertial dampeners are failing, and the impulse engines are failing, and they are heading towards the stellar matter. We see that all the way through the episode, the Enterprise is starting to have more and more technical issues, and as they try and determine what has been going on, it is quickly realised by Wesley Crusher that these issues are being caused by his experiment, because his experiment revolved around nanites, little tiny nanomachines. Unlike micro machines, they don't have wheels. These are little tiny nanomachines that, as an experiment, he took two out and wanted to see what would happen if they cooperated together. Were they more useful? Were they more productive? And we find that as a result of him overworking, he inadvertently caused jeopardy to the Enterprise and the scientific experiment of Dr. Stubbs, because he fell asleep with the container open where these nanites were. They've escaped and they are causing havoc in the main computer core. Systems are failing. Replicators are just firing out liquids left, right, and centre. The Stars and Stripes starts playing at one part on the bridge.
I do like all of the bizarre technical issues, because it points out just how severe these are. Like this is kind of like the reality that we're going towards now, though, where we have everything controlled by computers, and you're just like, well, what if the computer fucks up? What if the AI fucks up? Like, you know, like if you have the lights and the temperature and stuff of your house like controlled, like, you know, by a computer, then can you just have in the middle of the night be fried to death because the heat went up or something? And it's that scary world of going, we become so reliant on computers that we're, you know, like they have all of this power, which is kind of great, though, that we actually see that there's always manual overrides on the Enterprise. So whenever they get stuff like horrible things happening, there's always like a, hey, turn it off manually. So that's the lesson there, always to have that.
But even then, with the manual overrides, we see in the episode that they start to not work as well, because the manual overrides are not manual; they are still computer-based overrides, and it shows that when they are examining the damage in the computer core, they see that there's lesions, and they believe that someone is actively tampering with the computer core. They believe that someone is sabotaging the Enterprise. However, Crusher knows that these issues are being caused by his nanites, and the lesson
which is the other thing of he is put into a horrible position the same way as Stubbs, where Stubbs is obsessed that if this experiment fails and he doesn't get to launch his egg into the proton star or whatever it is, then his entire career is going to be ruined. And then we see Wesley making the situation worse by not actually coming out and saying, hey, I know exactly what's going on here. We can sort of fix it together, because he's so concerned that they're going to
they're going to think ill of him, and he's going to jeopardize
they're going to be like,
his career.
He's so unprofessional because he's done this. And it is that horrible cycle of where you have set huge expectations of yourself because of your successes that you are absolutely terrified of being seen as less. And this is something that I can relate to. Like I can tell you that the video we played last week, my stupid mixed drag.
Oh, do you mean this video?
Oh, hello there. I'm the Velvet Snatch, and I'm a drag queen from the northeast of England, even if I don't really sound like it. I'm also one of the finalists in this year's Mixed Drag Great Britain competition. Now, you might know me from here, saying, "Welcome to Snatch Talk." Or maybe you've heard me say, "Oh, girl," on the Girl Global podcast. How about interviewing all the stars? Wait, who are you again?
Dylan.
Oh. And maybe out and about performing! Either way, as my ex will tell you, I've been around. Drag for me is all about getting to meet new people and hearing what they have to say.
Who are you? What are you doing in my house?
I'm creating content! It's about using my platform to help others and offer advice to those around me. Pay off a monthly bill using a credit card to slowly increase your credit rating. Joking aside, I've been doing drag for a few years now, and I've met so many wonderful people. So, I'm in this competition because what's the point of having a platform if you can't use it to help others and raise money for wonderful local charities like the Charlie and Carter Foundation and Pride Action North? So, join me, the Velvet Snatch, at Gay Day, the grand finale, at Annick Gardens on the 26th of August. And if you want to donate to my causes, you can go to thevelvetsnatch.com/donate. See you at the final.
Links in the description below, everybody, so get donating. As you were saying, Science Officer Synoiz.
Yes, that video. But no, I was so panicking about that simply because in my head I'd done exactly the same thing as Stubbs and Crusher in this episode, where I kind of go, oh, but people expect things to be like this quality or this good, and I'm in this competition. It needs to be the best thing in the entire world. And I was stressing out about like all the little details and being like, oh, what if this joke doesn't land? What if that doesn't land? What if the camera angles are wrong? Or, oh, what if my makeup's not right and stuff? And stressing about all these things that don't matter. And it's the horrible thing of putting expectation upon yourself stops you from doing anything. And it's the idea of just being like, oh, well, you know, I've never had someone come up to me and say, oh, that wasn't as good as your previous thing. And surely we can take that on board and be like, well, they're not going to do it. And if they do, then you just go, well, cool, but that's what I came out with. But it is the fact that in this episode, that's how I can understand why Wesley doesn't come clean about it, but that's the life lesson. The life lesson is when you fuck up, come clean about it.
Own it.
Like, I'm always like this. If I do anything at work, if I mess anything up at work, I am the first person to go, hey, I've fucked this up. Hey, I've messed this up. I've done this. Whereas there's so many people I know who just won't. They'll be like, oh, well, we don't know how that happened. It will forever remain a mystery. And you're like, no, it's just going to come out later and you're going to look worse. You know,
and it's a tricky situation. I've been on both sides where I have made a mistake and I have owned it up. And it's the fear of punishment. It's the fear of, oh, they're going to have a go at me. They're going to sack me. It's just like,
yeah,
well, they might, or they might appreciate that you have been open and honest straight away and want to fix it straight away. So bite the bullet. And I have been on the other side where I know someone has screwed up, royally screwed up, and it's taken me half a day to fix it, and then they still deny it's them when you have got legitimate computer-based information.
Well, this is the whole thing, and you get people where they won't deal with it, and it makes them a lesser person, I think. And it's this idea of, I think it's if you can come clean about making a mistake, and someone's reaction to that is to attack you or think less of you, then fuck that person. You know,
exactly.
Like, no, actually, don't fuck that person. Do the opposite of fucking them. But it's that idea of just, people should not have expectations like that of other people, because nobody's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes and whatnot. And it's part of the learning experience. It's part of Wesley's education is going, hey, maybe put the fucking lid on before you fall asleep.
But here's the twist. Here's the twist, though, because he is such a genius that he's inadvertently caused these nanites to evolve and increase their become sentient, increase their numbers tenfold, to a point where they are so big that they will either completely ruin the Enterprise's computer, killing them all, or well, not even either or. They will. And we see again with Paul Stubbs, because this experiment is his entire life's work, and without it he is nothing. And they are up against the wall with a deadline. They know exactly when this
is the thing, though. It's the idea of also, don't be in that situation. Don't become Paul Stubbs and go, hey, my whole life revolves around this arbitrary fucking science experiment. Like this idea of going, you should be worth more than that. You should be worth more than you like. And it's this idea. It's like we have in our 9-to-5s or whatever. It's the fact of when you lose sleep, when you stress about stuff, and you're like, hang on, take a step back. I'm losing sleep because this account might be 2 days late or something. And you just go, hang the fuck on. How did I get in that situation? And that's the lesson I took from this episode of Star Trek. It's the idea of going, we are the ones who give things worth in that capacity. And it's the idea of Paul Stubbs has gone, hey, I'm going to put all of my efforts and all of my legacy into this one shot thing that will make me great because I need greatness. And you're like, wouldn't it be better to kind of have a happy life rather than being great? But he has the whole line in about how he'll be remembered forever. And it's like, I don't think you will. Especially not in DS9, where you go, this guy creates planets. So,
But it's a case of what fulfills you more, being revered and famous, or being happy and content. And we see this with a lot of people, and we will see this in our own lives. We will see those people who are content in their position in life, they are happy, they are fulfilled, and then you will see the ones who will literally crawl over anyone's head to get to the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step, because that is their goal in life. And you're like, okay, why? Like, what is your end goal? To do that? Is it power? Is it lots of money? Is it control? What is that drive? And we see, we speculated earlier in the week, everyone, about Paul Stubbs, and yes, he's a bit of a dickhead, but he's the quintessential result scientific driven experimental scientist who has never had many friends, has never had a relationship or anything like that. So they don't have the emotional development of more well-rounded people, where when they come up with an interaction, they're just like, well, I'm right and you're wrong. And that's it. That is there. Because even Deanna Troi says, he is extremely well practiced in his nonchalance. He is very firm in his belief that he is right. And he should, what he must do, everyone else must follow. And it comes across in the observation lounge scene where they're having a debate on whether to, if they can't fix the computer core, they will have to abandon the experiment and flee, because obviously if they don't move,
They're going to be caught in the explosion.
they're going to be caught in the explosion. And Paul Stubbs turns around and said, well, I would rather die than leave.
Yeah.
And then Picard has to remind him, I suspect a large majority of the crew would disagree with that.
Yeah.
And that's how, like, hyper-focused and single-minded he
The
is.
scariest thing is Deanna goes, he's actually telling the truth.
Yeah,
He
he's
genuinely
convinced.
would prefer to die than miss this opportunity. And you just go, what kind of life is that? So
Yeah.
when we talk about Paul Stubbs, it's the idea of, for a character that only appears in one episode, he is brilliantly played. He is absolutely he is phenomenal because he's such a sympathetic character.
Yeah.
He's kind of the villain of the episode per se, but it's the idea of you feel sorry for him because you just like, this is a route that
you understand,
don't want to go down.
You understand his point of view, because literally this is all he has, and if this does not work, he has nothing. Unlike, it's like if say something happens and something goes wrong in our, say I know, hypothetically we are literally cancelled and replaced by something superior, right?
But like static.
Yes, well, I was on about the last with the clown from the BBC watermark cards. But
that'd be amazing.
I would be.
No, I could play the clown. Chris, this is your Photoshop job. We need. He needs us two to be that.
Do me as the girl and do Synoiz as the clown. I would be sad, but I would move on because there are other things in my life. For Paul Stubbs, this is it. Without this, life is not worth living. He has nothing else. And you hear him when he's talking to Wesley Crusher about how he is a baseball fan, and hence why I've got my lovely little baseball. Go Giants!
Oh.
Go Giants!
That's how you know that you're coming back to your room, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cisco style.
Yeah. When I go back to LA, I'll just take all four. He goes on about his love of baseball. So we finally, we see halfway through the episode that he has an interest outside of this experiment and that it's baseball. But he's never recreated it on a holodeck. He's never watched it. He is that scientifically minded and statistically minded. He replays all the great games in his head based off the statistics. So he is so introverted and so sealed off from the rest of the world that he will sit in his quarters, eyes closed, playing these games in his head. He is like the ultimate version of an introvert per se.
Wait, this is the thing. It's how scary it is. The fact of like he hasn't been to a baseball game. Like Wesley kind of goes like, "Oh, have you seen it on the holodeck?" And he's like, "No, I've read the books. I've looked at the statistics, and I can tell what happened in the game from them." And you're like, so it is like the least amount of human interaction ever. And you just go like, no matter how great you are, no matter how remembered you are, like you shouldn't ever bet everything on one thing.
Never put your eggs in one basket.
What we see is a man who has nothing else to live for except for this working, because he hasn't formed any bonds with anyone else. He's constantly ruled by fear. He's constantly sort of ruled by the expectations of others and whatnot, and himself, which is the worst one. And and it makes him into a nasty person. It makes him into a, like, over the course of the thing, where the episode where they basically go, hey, we're probably going to have to give up on this experiment because we need to pull away from the nebula. We need to sort of, not nebula, the red giant.
We need to escape and repair the ship, otherwise we will perish in the explosion.
Yeah, and it's the fact that his first course of action is, hey, how about we just destroy all the nanites, even if they are a new form of life, in order to get my experiment done. And you just realize, like, wow, that's all you've got. That's all you've got in your life.
I had one criticism about this, though, because this is referenced a lot through the second half of the episode, where he's going, they are just machines. They have an off button, and if not, we can just kill them. And not once in this episode does Data crop up and go,
Data's just like, well, fuck my drag. But
No, but it would have been.
he's still
I think
reeling from Pulaski being like, data.
Data. He's still reeling from Yar. But it would have added to the episode because again, he just sees it. Stubbs sees it as black and white. It is night and day. These are machines. We can turn them off. If you can't turn them off, we just destroy them because they are machines. It just would have added to an extra dynamic where Data would have gone, but sir, I too am a machine. I too can be considered as sentient. You know, would you just turn me off if I was malfunctioning? And I would have just loved to have seen that to and from between Stubbs and Data in regards to that, because he just remained quiet throughout that. And it's like, well, hang on, Data, you represent a sentient form of machinery, and Stubbs is on about killing a sentient form of machinery because it inconveniences him.
Well, this is the thing, though, where I think what we get here with Stubbs is basically he refuses to acknowledge that the nanites have become sentient, and that's why he compares them to things like viruses and stuff, where he's going like, hey, well, if viruses are living things, then, like crushers, like a serial killer, and it's just like, but it's like, well, no, because the difference between like bacteria and stuff is they're not sentient, whereas these nanites appear to be. But then you get the impression that, like, because he's so socially introverted,
he's socially awkward,
Stubbs
shall we say?
would probably be willing to kill humans to get what he needs. Like in the idea science, he's possibly going down that Mengele route. I think
his social development is very atypical for a scientific genius, shall we say, and it mirrors the famous scientists of history: Einstein, Newton, even Oppenheimer to a certain degree. But it's that sort of, their genius is their own undoing. It's they, and again, and I'm sorry if you don't like it, but to parallel the Big Bang Theory, this is exactly how Sheldon Cooper is portrayed. Their life is academia. They have been encouraged all their life that they are prodigies, they are geniuses, they must be revered, and everyone else is beneath them because no one else can match their intellectual and scientific knowledge. And with Stubbs, we see it in a more refined way, I would say, compared to the Big Bang Theory. This is more a man who is unbelievably convinced of it's his way or no way, and he does not argue. He explains why he is right, and we see this in the computer core where they go, well, these may be sentient, so we're going to expose them to low-level gamma rays to slow down their productivity, allowing us to do the repair. You can do your experiment, and we can move away. And Stubbs is like, no, I don't have time for this. I've got an experiment to do. So he just goes into the computer core and kills a load of nanites with high doses of gamma.
I don't know what he does. He zaps it. He zaps the computer core.
He exposes them to a high level of gamma radiation. It kills them.
But then what we see is the ship immediately reacts, where the nanites within the ship basically go, hang on, he's just killed loads of us. And then it basically tries to gas the bridge. So basically we see Picard and Riker in the ready room, and then suddenly the air filtration stops working, and then suddenly it's, what is it? It's nitrogen oxide starts flooding the bridge.
Yeah.
And they realize that the nanites are being defensive. They're realizing that, like, if they try and kill the nanites will kill them. And we do have another episode of Trek where this kind of happens, where a ship can kind of tries to defend itself, like on a different show, I think. I'm sure there's another one. But effectively, it's just... And obviously, Data points out the most interesting thing, which is that by trying to kill the nanites, Paul Stubbs has proven that they're sentient and that they're actually able to communicate and interact with people, which leads them to the solution of the episode, effectively. But before then, though, we get it where we see Stubbs in his quarters, because he's been confined to quarters after doing that.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there sort of recounting a baseball game purely based upon the statistics. And then we see all of the electrical devices in the room turning off and going a bit weird. And then there's a massive discharge of energy that sends a bolt of lightning effectively into Stubbs. and it's the actual nanites using the technology of the ship to attack him, which is kind of crazy.
But we also see as well that they are evolving at a rapid pace. Like, these nanites are self-replicating on a accelerated level, and when Data is trying to communicate with them and open a dialogue with them and using binary, it takes him a matter of minutes to start from the basic rudimentaries of communication. And even Data says, like, they are learning the basic fundamentals of communication, and then they are adapting and getting to know and better. And each generation is improving on the way that they communicate. Within a couple of minutes, like within like 10, 20 minutes, they have got a full dialogue between, the crew of the Enterprise and the nanites. And that's how it shows the rapid progression. And when we see that they want to communicate, they bring up Paul Stubbs, and I love the fact that Picard goes to Stubbs like, you will explain your actions on what you did, and you will apologize for what you have done. And a face-to-face is proposed, and Data volunteers to be the conduit for the nanites, which I thought was... So go on.
I've got to say, like, sorry, there's an interesting thing about Data where he is so selfless, like, and he doesn't seem to have self-preservation, even though he says he does. There does seem to be this, he's so incredibly reckless, like throughout all of Trek, where he's just like, oh, okay, I'll just take my arm off and I'll just do this, or I'll just put myself in like reckless danger to help people or whatever. And it is this very non-human aspect to him. And then just here where he's like going, if I actually allow nanites to get inside my sort of, my body, they can take control of my voice and operations, and then you can communicate with them directly. And you're like, yeah, that's cool, but it could immediately kill you. Like, they could just, if their intentions aren't good, or if they do see the whole ship as a threat. And it is one of these things of just being like, really, Data? You're like one of a kind, well, two of a kind.
It's one of those situations where Worf is actually right with his concerns.
Yeah, no, well, Worf is always right, but it's always, in terms of security, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but that's not a massive risk. So it's the idea of, yes, it is a risk, but in this one,
he's absolutely right.
Risk. Like, he basically just says, like, hey, maybe allowing them to take control of a Starfleet officer is a terrible idea,
Yeah. And we see that the face-to-face occurs in the computer core. And what I liked about Brent Spiner's performance is we see that the nanites have not only evolved to the point where they are completely sentient and are able to have a full full dialogue. They also, in a very rudimentary way, express emotion, because when they are looking at the crew and they go, you are very strange creatures, and Picard's explaining, there are creatures that are stranger than us, they're opening the dialogue, and then they look at Paul Stubbs, and then there was that way that Spiner goes, we know who you are, and that emotion...
the implied emotion.
The implied emotion,
where they're just going, you're the guy, you're the murderer. Like, you're the one who tried to kill us. Yeah. And it's, and that's this wonderful thing where they only exist in this scene, the nanites, like played by Brent Spiner, and obviously with vocal effects. But it's fascinating. It's genuinely fascinating just, that this is a new life form. This is exactly what their mission is all about, to discover new life,
I mean, the resolution of this episode, where it gets to a climax, and I hate to use the word climax, because this is a very next generation Trek way of resolving a situation. There is no violence, there is no arguing or anything like that. Everything in this scene is resolved calmly, peacefully, off camera. There's an eliminator set from Gladiators on the holodeck, but it's cotton buds and everything. But it's resolved very maturely, and this for me represents the best of Star Trek and the best of the Next Generation, where it's like, hey, we don't have to have massive phaser fights, no one has to die, no one, there is no like stakes or anything like that, it has to be you or them. This is right, there was mistakes made on both sides, the actions were misinterpreted on both sides. We, if you relinquish control, stop doing what you do to the computer core, we will work with you to find a solution, because at this point the nanites have grown far too quickly and they are confined by the Enterprise, so they need somewhere else to flourish. And
you're right. This is exactly what Trek is. Like,
it's
the fact that they solve the problem by diplomacy. Like, there's no big battle where they fight through and the like the nanites become a big giant robot and then they blow it up and that's all the nanites dead, or you know, or they have something like that. It's literally they speak to them and they go, hey, here's reason, here's logic, here's compassion, and they work out a solution between them. And you're just like, that's what I like. I don't need big space explosions, like it's
the
lovely.
Best way. It is the best way to resolve that type of situation. And this episode is full of lessons. And it's full of lessons about work-life balance and how you need to prevent yourself from being consumed by one thing in your life, and that you need to learn everything in moderation, and that you have to live your life. And with here, it's sometimes things like this can be resolved without violence, and it can be resolved with diplomacy. And we see,
and it's ironic that they solve it using the exact skill set that Paul Stubbs doesn't have.
Yeah.
It's the fact of these nanites, these machines that have just gained sentience, are doing a better job of humaning than Paul Stubbs has throughout this whole episode.
But then it's also, we see the resolution for Beverly and Wesley, where at the end of the episode, after the explosion, and Stubbs is far too engrossed in his work, and it's a case of, for me, there are two things towards the end of the episode. I feel Stubbs didn't learn a lesson.
I think the problem is he can't. He's past that stage.
He's incapable of learning. Yeah, he's incapable of learning that lesson. And we see that
is his destiny that he has created for himself. And that's the sad lesson that Wesley should hopefully take from it. And does, I guess.
But it's rewarding again, because this bucks the trend where it's like, we resolve this by diplomacy. Not everyone has to learn a lesson. And that sometimes you cannot fundamentally change someone's way of thinking. And we see that with Paul Stubbs. He says nothing, the explosion happens, and he is just consumed by the amount of data that is coming in from the egg, and he's just quiet.
It's almost like a child having a massive tantrum and then going quiet and not saying thank you after it's resolved,
after it's got what it wants.
Yeah, and it feels very much like he's just like, okay, cool, the world has continued operating as it should do. I shall get back to my work. And it is this thing of just this sympathetic character where you just go like, hey, cool, that's how you live your life, I guess. We'll just try not to get on the bad side of you, I guess.
But then we see the polar opposite in 10 Forward, where we see Wesley come in, as Skyning is talking to Beverly, where he's got a date and he's making friends with. There is a deleted scene for this episode where we actually see
fuck. Sorry. And Beverly Crush is just like, tell what you know about her.
I read a particularly erotic part of my son's journal. Oh
God.
Oh, daddy.
See,
the deleted
like,
scene.
Stubbs is reading all the baseball material and statistics and imagining it in his mind.
So
and, Crush is reading like her grandmother's diary, being like, I know exactly what happened.
There is a deleted scene, Act 1, Scene 25. Wesley runs into Eric's girlfriend, and Annette on the way to a holodeck ski adventure. This is where we first see Annette, who is Wesley's date, and then there was another deleted scene. There is another deleted scene where Annette is actually injured and is taken to sickbay. This is Act 2, scene 39 to 40. Eric brings an injured Annette to sickbay after a holodeck malfunction, and the duty nurse is electrocuted by the nanites via a malfunctioning replicator. So we're supposed to see Annette 3 times before we see them in 10 forward. But
I feel sorry for that actress. I don't think the episode needed it because it serves its purpose, but I feel sorry for the actress who was blatantly got on board. And then it was like, you have 3 scenes. And they're like, you are a background character in
you
the
are no
final
longer getting
scene.
paid because we cut it. But we see the polar opposite with Wesley Crusher, where he is becoming more well-rounded. He is getting to know the other similar-aged crew members, which, it's the opposite of Paul Stubbs. But I want to ask you, because I feel this is a good episode for it. The nanites are relocated with the influence of Paul Stubbs to the planet Cavis Alpha 4. Do you feel...
This is Cavis Alpha 4!
This is Cavis Alpha 4! Do you feel...
I'm covered in nights.
Do you feel this is a second contact opportunity
with
definitely.
The nanites?
Yes.
This is the best example I think we've had yet of what the hell, this is just the biggest what the fuck that exists in Trek, I think. Where you just go, hang on, so we have nanites that can build anything and do anything within a matter of seconds, and they're constantly evolving, and we've just given them a planet. And you just sitting there be like, is this how Vija happens? There's so much here of just being like, what is that planet like now? Is that where the Borg come from? It's like, there's so much crazy stuff where you're just going, I would very much like to know what happens here.
I have an issue. Yeah, I have an issue with this. So by this time in Next Generation, we know that the Borg are out there. Okay, we know the Borg are coming. You have just given an uninhabited planet to a race of sentient cybernetic beings that can evolve like that. Not one person went, maybe we should just check on them, because if the Borg come, this is the first planet that they're going to stop at.
It's the idea of just I don't know. There's the aspect of Trek where you just go, is this a threat? Because we've already seen that they're incredibly defensive, that they're very much like this. So you're just going do we just have it where the Breen or the Cardassians or the Klingons just attack them, and then they just royally fuck up the entire Klingon Empire by being okay, yeah, we've destroyed all your ships using our nanotechnology or whatever, and you just go okay, maybe we should have, and this is the thing, it's that's why it needs a second contact, because there's so much you could do with this plot line, and it's very much, I'd love to see a spin-off where, if they were going to do another season of Picard or another season set in the future, that they just go, hey, that throwaway thing? That turns out to be a massive consequence across the whole quadrant.
You could literally have an entire season of Star Trek Legacy focused on the second contact. They could say, right, and I this is an idea. This is the second week where we're going to develop another series.
Can we have that for free, Goodwill? Can we have the idea for free?
Hang on. Sorry, putting Goodwill's head on little girls' bodies. Christopher, Criminal Minds has done that episode. But
you have done well, my young Padawan.
But for the second week of developing
you're not young, you're just short, sorry.
He's not short, he's just tiny. He's a nanite.
I can't stay mad at Christopher. He's a hobbit.
What do you do when you put a little robot to bed? You say, nanite.
I'm leaving. I'm done. That's it. No. Hey, take over, Velvet Starch. Well, I thought this episode was shit. Utter garbage. Right.
Velvet Starch. Yeah. You look very appealing.
Oh, I've heard that before. You think you're funny? You ginger bastard. Shut up. Shut your mouth. Bugger off to Blackpool. See how I care. Sorry, I'm back now. Sorry.
That was
I
the
hope Velvet
Velvet
Starch didn't say anything mean.
That was the Velvet Starch section, everybody. But no, like if we are developing another
The
series
people
like we did
listening
last
on
week,
Spotify are going to have no fucking idea what we're talking about here.
oh, this is why we need a team of animators. But if they were going to do a series like Legacy, you could have an entire 10-episode season where Starfleet goes to the Enterprise and goes, right, your mission is to we have had the Dominion War, we have had the Borg, we have had all these issues in the 2370s and 80s. Now it's time to get back to exploration and experiencing civilization, seeking out new life and new civilizations. Your mission is to re-establish contact with a list of these civilizations. Now, they could be from the original series, they could be from DS9, they could be from the next generation, they could be from any of them. But I think there is a list of civilizations and planets that need that second contact. The Nanite one, Nanite, the civilization from the original series where it was based on 1920s Chicago.
Yeah. Maybe Khan's planet, but a bit too late now.
This is city. Oh, there's no one there. But it's
oh, his wife's died. Oh well.
Status update. There's no one here. Roll credits. But there are a lot of civilizations and a lot of planets that need that second contact, and I would watch the shit out of an episode a week of the Enterprise G just going to these planets and just having interesting developments and world building like we did in the Next Generation, DS9 and Voyager. Rebuild the world after the Dominion War. Let's go back to Cardassia. Let's go back to Bajor. Let's go back to these planets that had a story of the week that have just long been forgotten but need to be revisited. Because if you have got a planet of nanites and it has been it's been 35 years, what have they achieved if they could achieve something in 8 hours? What could they achieve in 35 years? Could it be Vija?
Well, we could have it where after the Dominion War, basically the focus becomes security. The focus becomes like, hey, okay, cool. So we kind of weren't expecting the Breen to just appear with crazy weapons that would disable all of our ships and everything. So we need to actually kind of have a census and work out like where everything is in the Alpha Quadrant and basically do that and basically just go, hey, here's all of the things. Let's check in on everyone. Let's see what the status of everyone is to avoid things like the Marquis, to avoid things like sort of insurrections and to avoid like potential threats effectively. And it'd be quite good if you literally did a show that was all about a ship that basically went around not mopping things up, but basically just
not lower decking, but sort of their mission. You could coin it as this is going to sound cheesy as fuck, but I don't care. But the opening monologue, obviously, if they do Star Trek Legacy, it's an Enterprise, it needs an opening monologue, right? Their mission to revisit new lives and new civilizations, to seek out and re-establish contact with,
old lives,
to boldly, to revisit new lives and new civilizations, to boldly go where we have been before. I would honest to God, I would absolutely love that, because you are revisiting stories that fans love, and you are reintroducing these stories to new fans as well. So you are not only rebuilding the world, you are introducing people to that world. And they could understand why when, say when me and Synoiz see something, the changelings, the Dominion in Star Trek Star Trek Picard, and we lost our shit because they were all about changelings, and we were like, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah.
They will understand why, when that is mentioned, we lose our shit. Oh, because this happened.
And this is the thing. And one of the things that I had watching the Star Wars movies is just how much I love how the Star Wars lore has been adapted by the fans, and
Yeah,
how like obviously a lot of people will disagree because have a lot of people who are like, oh, all the latest stuff is rubbish. And yes, the sequel trilogy is the worst thing in the entire Star Wars universe, but it's this idea of all these things where you had the prequels and then you had like the Clone Wars animated show by Disney, which is my favorite,
it is
despite
mind
starting
blowing. The
but it's
Clone
the
Wars
idea
is the
of
best, guys.
that they basically had these three prequel films that just have throwaway things. Like you just have the original films where it just goes, "Oh, you were in the Clone Wars," and you're just like, "What the hell was that?" Like they just a throwaway line, and then you're like, "No, no, no, we need to fully explain what the Clone Wars was," and it becomes this whole 8 season show. But it just has crazy things like General Grievous never meeting Anakin Skywalker because in the Revenge of the Sith, uh, Anakin goes, "Oh, it's good to finally meet you, General." And then the poor people writing the show, which needed to last for multiple seasons, had to go, the main character and one of the main villains are never allowed to meet each
No,
other. Are you fucking serious?
yeah,
Okay. And they pulled it off. But this is the joy though, that when you do this, you get such rewarding lore because you keep going back to something and adding to it and building on it and being like, what's that? How does that happen? What does that mean in the higher context of things? And it would be wonderful to get that with Trek because we're getting it with Lower Decks, but obviously Lower Decks is looking like
ending.
it's going to be cancelled. But it's the idea of just going, hey, expand on that. Show us more about that. Tell us these details that we never got before. And making the Trek universe even more wonderful and welcoming and
It's
fascinating to new viewers, you know?
it's about. I mean, I've got another thing to say, but I'll just get this point out of the way. It is very much, and I know it's just a computer game, but it's very much what Star Trek Online does, where it goes, hey, you are in this world, you live in this world, so they build upon it, and Star Trek is very much. You could easily have multiple series, and it's about the alpha and the beta quadrants. It's about Bajor, Cardassian, essentially just expanding and updating that world. And I think above all else, and I know I have had a week of it with toxic Trekkies on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, just fuck off. But out of everything, what people would want is not something new, but a continuation where it's like most Trekkies grew up with the Next Generation era where worlds were built, stories were formulated, people were linked in different shows, and it was an entire universe, quite literally. It was an MCU for Trekkies, shall we say, where everything just coexisted, but they never made a song and dance about it. And the desire, ever since Voyager ended, not even Enterprise, ever since Voyager ended in 2001, the desire has been to go back to that era and continue, because it is so rich, it is so deep, and you can have prequel series till you're blue in the face. I love Strange New Worlds. Lesser extent, I like Discovery season 1 and 2, but they were still good. And you can get those prequel series. There's nothing wrong with that. But the present day Star Trek will always be the Next Generation, and people grew up with that. People, I was talking to Jake about this because we were on about, ironically, Star Wars. How people, how you see people sexualizing characters in Star Wars. Oh, I had a crush on her, and I had a crush on.
Oh, just the Ewoks though.
But for most people who grew up with those franchises, who grew up with Star Wars, who grew up with Star Trek, we don't find those people attractive, because more so than other franchises, we grew up and they were more like an extended family. So we see them as family, and we care about them as if they were part of our family. And the yearning since 2001 is we want to see what has happened. We want to go
Yeah.
back to that world. What happened, like Synoiz said, what happened after the Dominion War? What happened after Voyager came home? And we want to explore that. We just want to continue. And the demand for legacy is the demand for that world to continue and just to live in that world and see all these. We don't have to have a cameo a week. We don't have to have that.
Yeah.
But we could just, one week it could be, oh, there's Julian Bashir and Esri Dax on the Aventine.
That what annoys me is that, like you're saying, exactly how Lower Decks has done it, where it basically goes, hey, here's a cameo, but it's not a big deal. It's just, they're there because they exist in this universe.
Yeah.
The annoying thing for me is that they keep going, oh, it has to be either a reboot like the Kelvin universe. It needs to be far in the future where it's like decades later and it's out of the relevancy of stuff, or it needs to be a prequel. I'm like, no, I want a show a week after Voyager comes home. Like, I want you to do a new show set a week after Voyager has just come back in. Like, the celebrations are still going on, and that's where we set it. Rather than Picard, where it jumps forward and Romulus is already destroyed and this is all done.
But the thing is with Picard, with the Next Generation, Picard was set literally the same amount of time since Nemesis. So it's like it is that continuation. For stuff like that, animation is better. You could have a week after Voyager came home. What were the consequences of that? What happened? Prodigy could explore that in much greater depth.
Well, this is what Christopher's saying in the chat, because obviously he's a very good boy who does his schoolwork. He's saying, so Goodwill is saying Star Trek could learn something from Star Wars with stuff like the Clone Wars.
You say this, and this
very
is
much though. Like that's what I want Prodigy to be. I want Prodigy to be the Clone Wars, and over the course of the show, because obviously it's very isolated at the minute, but I kind of want to go, what if this ended up being like the Clone Wars, where it just goes, whoa, what a crazy scale we end up.
But then we get the ultimate irony, where as much as people don't like to admit it, Star Wars and Star Trek are forever intertwined. They always learn from each other, for good and for worse. And I'm going to give you the primest example. Star Trek Prodigy is about a group of youngsters who discover a ship and have to and journey to the home of that ship. Star Wars Skeleton Crew. A group of youngsters find a ship and return to where the ship was from.
When was that done?
The Skeleton Crew is in production right now.
Oh, right, okay. Because I'm like, I haven't heard of that one.
So they do learn, but sometimes they literally, excuse the pun, clone the fuck out of something. And you're like, people are going to notice. But
I think the fact is, though, that as long as they go in a different direction for it, like, or, I don't know, perhaps do it better. I mean, the thing with Star Wars and Star Trek is I'm happy with them both coexisting. Like,
agreed.
There is no animosity between, Star Wars and Star Trek. Like, people who think that there is, it's just like they are very, very different shows. And they both have the true solidarity of being glad that at least they're not Babylon 5. So it's the idea of, like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, if you like Star Trek and I like Star Wars or whatever, at least we don't like Babylon 5. So we have so much in common,
Quick side note, I'm financially I am financially destitute. I will accept money.
Well, I get lynched at Destination Trek if I call Babylon 5 a big pile of shit.
No, you'll get carried out on a chair and hailed as a king. I will accept money. And I know cousin Truckwill
is in the comments.
Cousin Truckwill has already bagged himself a John Deere hat from this. So I'm going to do a Captain Goodwill proposal. I will accept financial money to review Babylon 5. I will do a special trekking up north, I will binge watch Babylon 5, including all the movies, and then I will review it.
I'm trying to work out how compact I can make my head. I
will do it for charity. I will
look like
do it for
Sparehead
charity.
3 from Red Dwarf.
I will do it for charity, but financial donations for Synoiz's charities will be made.
Should we do this? Because obviously I'm really busy at the moment doing the initial parts of this campaign, but we're going to be doing fundraisers going forward. Should we do this? Should we do like a sponsored, now that we've worked out how to do watch-alongs or whatever, like a Nerdy Up North, spoilers, it's coming soon. Probably shouldn't have revealed that, but fuck it. Take that, Paul. But no, now that we can potentially do this, if we did like a charity stream raising money for my campaign where we get me to watch Babylon 5 and just try and be nice about it, maybe. I don't know.
This could be.
People could donate to make me have to find something nice about an aspect of
we can do both. Both of us can do it. Both of us can do it.
That's it. We just do it, but
it's a special Trekkin Up North where we watch Babylon 5.
In that show, it's just so badly written. And then everyone's like, "Oh, it's so well written," and you're like, "What?"
Can we pay you to do a Code of Honor watch along? No. But Babylon 5.
No, it's money, Goodwill. It's money. Time to break out Code of Honor.
Babylon 5 for charity, Code of Honor for my wallet. So,
watch it be the thing on the dabble wheel this week. After we've said that.
Have you been tampering with the wheel again?
Oh, one day. If we don't get it in a year, I'll be like, we need to do Code of Honor.
If we get it and we land on it, I'm respinning. So I think that's a good idea, doing a Babylon 5 sponsored charity stream along, I think, more than anything. But tangents aside, this was a very strong episode of The Next Generation. It was a lot of people say season 3 of TNG is where TNG came into its own. It's where The Next Generation became The Next Generation. And this was a strong episode where there was no action and everything was resolved by diplomacy and cool heads. So I personally, Goodwill response, we riot. No.
Goodwill respins, we riot.
Oh, respin. No, it says respond. No, responds. I'm going to say, I'm taking it literally. But no, I really like this episode. It was a strong episode. It was a strong Crusher episode, which we did lack, and at least it wasn't Sub Rosa. What are your opinions?
No, I feel exactly the same. I thought it was absolutely, it's a brilliant episode. Obviously, I remember being a bit, oh God, Beverly's back, when this happened, which is the opposite mood to what the fans were like, because wasn't it only the fans that brought her back? It was like the same as a Garrett Wang, wasn't it? Where it's basically
similar, yes.
Yeah, where they were like, where is she? We don't like Pulaski and stuff, and you know, that was what got
it was more back. It wasn't a campaign per se. It was just the good old TV network focus group. What did you think to season 2? And Ralph Wiggum sat there with a switch, just constantly turning no to Pulaski. It was that sort of thing. So Crusher came back. No, I think it's a really good episode. I've seen this a few times over the last few months as well, as it's been circulating on TV and stuff like that. And I think I watched it.
I think it's the idea, because we can talk about wonderful things. Like, this is character development. And it's good character development for Wesley, because the first 2 seasons, they do the whole thing of he's the protagonist. He's the one who everyone wants to kind of be seeing through his eyes and going down that kind of route. Like, he's meant to be the protagonist. Like, he's like meant to be like the Frodo or the kind of everyman,
completely
kind of
infallible to anything.
Yeah. But then they made him in a really crap way, where they just go, oh, but he's not like anyone. Like, I remember watching this as a kid being like, but I'm not a scientific genius. Like, I'm not a boy wonder. I'm not doing this, and I don't really want to go to Starfleet. And so it kind of backfired, this kind of, that's how you're meant to sort of view it.
Their original goal was he represented the youth watching Star Trek, and then they sort of massively backfired where they were just like, he's a child prodigy, and it's just like, yeah, but I'm not.
Yes, I've put a hot dog up my bum. I'm not a prodigy of anything.
He's good at maths, and I'm in remediation.
I can't even spell that.
I can't. Yeah, R3 upside down W. But yeah, it's a strong episode. Very good episode from the Dabble Wheel yet again. Speaking of the Dabble Wheel.
I want to mention also the fact of we have some bizarre background on Guinan in this episode.
That she has many children.
She's not really relevant in the episode because Guinan, like, it has Whoopi Goldberg, and I think they were like, it's season 3. We kind of need her in because it's like a big draw. But we don't really have anything important for her to be doing. So
Guinan is the Wilson of the next generation. She doesn't have a fence; she has a bar.
Yeah, but it is good though because basically she has a conversation with Wesley about the whole like, hey, do you really want to go down this sort of like, like academic is the most important thing in your life kind of route, and then has a conversation with Crusher about basically just. Yeah, well, we get a bizarre bit of a law on Guinan where Crusher goes, hey, do you have kids? And she says, lots. And she's like, oh, have you ever had any problems with them? And she goes, yeah, I have one that just won't listen to me. And Crusher's like, oh, well, that's just kids. And she's like, well, not in a species of listeners. Because what we've learned, what we know about the Elorians is that the whole thing about them is that they're listeners. Bizarrely, not the guy in DS9 though. He's just a bit of a gambling dickhead. But
all the one in Generations.
Yeah, so it's a bit weird that Guinan but this is like very, very rare Elorian lore, basically, or Guinan lore, which is kind of good. But yeah, I quite like that, and I quite liked a lot of the little bits in it. And also, I don't know if this is just because they got the remastered ones on Netflix, which is where I was watching this, because I pay for Paramount Plus, but let's not use it if we don't have to. But it was the remastered one where the CGI was absolutely amazing for the ships, and the music's insane in this episode. Like, it's not like any other Next Generation episode I've ever seen, like I ever heard. Like, it has these intense kind of dramatic bits of music. It has these really sort of techno kind of things, and you're like,
it's that bridge between score? It's like, the bridge between 89 and 90. So you've got the 80s synthwave feel of season 1 and 2, but then they are sort of bleeding into the Jerry Goldsmith full orchestral arrangement.
Yeah.
That sort of dominates Trek all the way up to the late 90s. And we see that migration. So this is like that transitional period. So it opens up with some nice exterior shots, synthwave, blah, 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 blah. And then throughout season 3, it sort of migrates from the synth to a more 90s orchestral bombastic. Chris, I will die on this hill. Cowboy Bebop, the live action Cowboy Bebop, was good, and I will review that free of charge. As I was saying, oh God, what's he said now?
How about Ahsoka?
No, I'd rather die. I pay for Paramount Plus, but don't use it unless I have to. Is Synoiz power? Is he on the board of directors? No, because they're all fired.
No. To be fair, I could be, because effectively what we're saying is my main skill is in action, which I think entitles me to be on Paramount's board of directors.
Well, they're all 28-year-old
Where's the fucking
women.
merchandise, Paramount? But the other thing I wanted to point out before we finish is nanites. Like, the idea of this is the first thing I can remember, like the earliest instance of nanites, like in terms of sci-fi.
Yeah.
And we see them quite predominantly in a show I mentioned earlier, Red Dwarf, which is in the 90s or whatever, because Red Dwarf, the books were getting written about now, like, because obviously the show started like, a bit earlier, and then the books came out, and the books kind of plan out what the show's going to be like for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And we have it where basically Crichton has nanobots. I think they're called. Are they? Are they called nanobots?
They're called nanobots.
Yeah.
But
And they're
you are
effectively the same thing. And we have this fun episode where they escape and they rebuild the entire ship. They
yeah.
basically steal Red Dwarf. And it's just this bizarre thing of going, is that taken from Star Trek? Did Star Trek lay the seed for that whole plot?
It was an emerging trend because we in the late 80s, early 90s, we had the advent of nanotechnology, microchips and everything like that. So everything was sort of scaled down. And we saw with Red Dwarf, with Star Trek, with Mystery Science Theater 3000, with Stargate, that nanotechnology was everywhere. Nanotechnology was the thing. It was the hot issue. Like AI is the hot issue now.
Yeah.
Nanotechnology was this, this was this miracle snake oil. Oh, this will cure everything. We can just inject ourselves with nanotechnology and they'll repair our wounds and yeah, we still have the NHS now. And it sort of began with the Next Generation. I think this was the progenitor to what we had in Red Dwarf, MST3K, and Stargate to a lesser extent, because there weren't sort of nanites. They were slightly bigger and stuff like that. But we had it in all sci-fi, like most sci-fi of the 90s, like replicators and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say that this is probably the earliest depiction of them, shall we say?
Well, I can't think of it. Like they must have existed in sci-fi before. Like they must have existed in like sort of short stories and all of the novelizations and such. But this is the first like pop culture, like the first kind of I would have been exposed to this as a child,
mainstream type.
Yeah,
thing.
mainstream. There we go. Yeah.
So,
but I just thought that was a really fun little thing. But it's I quite like it. I like the idea. I love Paul Stubbs as a character. I love what a horrible person he can be. Like, as in, and he's a perfect life lesson of don't make your work your life. Have a life outside of your work.
Have a life. A work-life balance is very important. And he went back in time and became Bob Kelso. We are receiving an incoming transmission.
Incoming transmission.
Where from?
The double wheel of episodes. That's where the transmission is coming from. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, Babylon 5 fans, why are you still here? Welcome to the... and potatoes. Welcome to the double wheel of episodes. If you are new to Trekking Up North, thank you for starting at episode 59. In the double wheel, we have all the episodes, asterisks, of Star Trek ever made, excluding a few that...
Can you not just say all the good episodes of Star Trek and be done with it?
No, because you keep threatening me with Sub Rosa. We have episodes of Star Trek programmed into it, and what we do every week, we spin the wheel, we gain a massive amount of anxiety. When the wheel stops, we yell at the top of our lungs, "Double!" And everyone in the double, and double. Everyone, double. I'm a double, double. We yell double at the top of our lungs. Everyone in the live chat types double in all caps. Everyone in the comments types double. You haven't done it yet, make
If you have pets, yell double at them. That's what we need to be. Come on, Mr. Flipple.
You get out of your house and you scream Dabo. If you are listening to this on Spotify, you scream Dabo on the train so you get arrested and deported.
That's it.
You get sent
Give
to
the
Rwanda.
woman next to you a heart attack. Make her ruin her crochet.
If you are claiming asylum, you go Dabo! And then you are a 737 to Rwanda, apparently. If you're next to Rishi Sunak's pool in Richmond, you go Dabo! And he's like, why are you here? Anywhere you are listening to Trekkin' Up North.
Look at the chat, Goodwill. We've got it. Code of honor. We've got it. The solidarity here for Code of honor. It will happen one day, Goodwill. I will have
Science
to
officer,
it.
Science Officer Synoiz. What episode? I'm going to punch that potato so hard. What episode?
Why doesn't Lee ever say that to me?
What episode do you want?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. There's so many great ones. I kind of, after seeing this, I kind of want a Pulaski episode. But no, you know what I want? I want a Kira episode. I want
Oh.
a Kira episode of DS9, or I want a Doctor episode of Voyager. Or
You know
Code
what
of
I?
Honor.
You know what I want. You know what I want. I want.
Moon on a stick.
I want.
That's what you want.
I want money.
I always love it.
Because
In
I have
in
no-
Newcastle Drag Idol, one of the judges, who is one of our greatest like comedy queens of the Northeast, Miss Rory. They are absolutely amazing. You can see them several times a week at Boulevard in Newcastle, which is the best show that you're going to see. And they just have this running gag of whenever anyone's like, sort of, why are you here tonight? And she's like, money. And it's just done with this absolute sincerity of, I'm only here because I'm getting paid. And there's something innately hilarious.
This is my last can of any sort of beverage before I start drinking water.
Do you not have pussy?
I
Do we need to put a Goodwill pussy fund together?
I need to do a GoFundMe. Beth says
£5 a month. You can keep this man in inappropriately named energy drinks.
Beth says punch the potato. It will be a mashed potato. Thank you, Captain Obvious.
I'm willing to take that off, Lee. Mash my potato, Lee.
Yes. Okay.
Mash my spuds. Anyway, yeah, let's.
Shall we spin the wheel? Okay.
Are we all
yes.
ready to
Oh
yell
no! Oh, hang on. I not only want a Kira episode, I want an Odo and Kira episode. Specifically,
oh my God, where they're in love,
where they kiss for the first time.
Oh,
get in my bucket, Narith. Right.
Get in my bucket.
Get in my bucket.
You better be ready to yell Dabo at Nova, Beth.
At STLV, when you're Lasagna Snatch, can you just carry a bucket?
I'll just offer to carry people in my dress. I don't think they're going to survive the trip, but I do think Velvet Starch should come with us.
Are you bringing any vegetables with you to the United States? No. What's that?
No.
That's a potato.
That's a celebrity, you fuckhead.
Yeah. I'm creating content.
Yank.
Well, why are you putting me back on the plane? What are you doing?
They're like, why are you blowing up the plane? They're just like, putting it on. They're just like, no, we're just gonna drive it into the ground.
Okay. In 3, in 2, in 1. Anxiety!
Come on, Code of Honor. Come on, do it, Code of Honor.
Oh, double!
Oh.
Deep Space Nine, change of heart, straight to memory alpha. Or pass.
It's a DS9 episode.
That is why.
I'm really glad
not...
I got my voice
hang
back.
on,
I
hang on.
Sing on Wednesday.
Why is the episode not showing on memory alpha?
Is that a change of heart?
Oh my god, hang on.
Dabo! Yeah, the chat's got it. It's Dabo.
Okay, here we go. We have got Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Why are you not fucking showing? Why is memory alpha just like, nope, this doesn't exist? There we go.
There's nanites in it.
Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 16. Yes! This is not a Kira and Odo. This is a Dax and Worf episode of Deep Space Nine. On a mission to recover a Federation informant on the Dominion world of Sukara, Dax is injured and Worf must choose between completing the mission or saving his wife.
This is the jungle one, yeah.
Meanwhile, O'Brien enlists Bashir's help to defeat Quark in a game of Tongo.
Oh no! Could this be the first episode with our Dark Queen in it?
Oh fuck!
Could it be?
No. Hang on. No, because Keiko is absent.
Ah, so close, our Dark Queen.
And let me just have a look. Nothing to challenge. No, yeah,
I'm
Keiko is
happy with
absent.
this. We've got a great one. She's
Oh,
absent.
this is fantastic. We've got a season 6 episode of DS9. It is. Oh, God, I'm loving this. Oh, there's so many quotes. There's so much love. There's so much romance. There's so much Ferengi. There's so much Miles O'Brien. Oh.
The greatest Starfleet officer ever lived.
Oh, next week's going to be so fucking good. Oh, that is it. Change of heart. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers. If you are in the UK, that will be on Netflix, Season 6, Episode 16. If you are in the US, I'm sorry, Paramount Plus is currently unavailable because it's a streaming platform that doesn't have any videos because Paramount Plus is shit. Everywhere else, though, we can watch Season 6, Episode 16, DS9, Change of Heart. That is next week on Trekking Up North. Will we be live next week, Science Officer Synoiz?
I will get back to you.
Good. I don't have the correct uniform. Oh well, I'm poor. So that is.
Find out.
We will find out. Keep tuned in to see if it's a premiere or a live. I don't know. Everybody, that has been our episode of Trekking Up North for this week. The return of Gothwill.
Yeah.
What? No.
Bring back Gothwill.
No. Science Officer Synoiz, are you doing anything this evening or this weekend?
No, I've got stuff to do. I've the video that we saw earlier, my mixed drag video. I've got to finish editing the second part, and it's cringe. It's very cringe, but because I'm singing in it, and yet I've lost my voice this week, so it's not very good singing. But we make do. But that's going to be coming out tomorrow morning. So I need a rest. I've been so ill and so fatigued this week. Just
say it again.
yeah, because we had a 2 a.m. finish, a 5 a.m. start, and an 8 p.m. finish on Sunday. Or in drag, including, and we got I think we got a half-hour break. It was just a lot of work,
They
and
gave
obviously
you breaks.
having to stay on the ball, because obviously it was hey, now you need to be on this interview and get interviewed by someone, and you're I don't know where I am, and then it's oh, we're talking politics, are we? Great. So yeah.
Why is Lee wanting us to do Quark drag?
Well, because if we get what's it called?
Not that episode. The one that killed Sid's career in directing.
To be fair though, I will say I think Prophet and Lace is a great episode. I don't find it particularly offensive. I find it a very good episode because effectively what we do is we see Quark evolving as a character. The fact that he actually ends up with more respect for women after the episode, I quite like it, But
he could be on about the one where it's Quark's head on Neresa's body.
Oh, hopefully, because that's the first appearance of who in DS9 in Trek.
I mean, if you're going to bring Gothwill, if I'm going to have a dark-haired week, surely it would make sense that Science Officer Synoiz could do Quark. I could do Daxwill. Daxwill. I'd have to do.
We'll get a marker pen and just dab.
Just. But yes.
So basically, please follow. We're going to do the sign out now. Please go to thevelvetsnatch.com/donate. We have loads of cool stuff that's coming soon. We have merchandise and whatnot. One of the things I've got to do this weekend is I've got to do a what is it? It's basically a register of interest kind of thing for my products, because obviously a lot of the products that I'm going to be selling as merchandise are going to be handmade. So we basically need to know what interest is there. Should we do this color? Should we do this? Should we do that? Because I don't want to make stuff and then it not actually sell. And we lose money on it. So I've got to kind of program that this weekend. And then we've also got a joint 40th birthday tomorrow night, where we've hired a big gaming venue for the whole thing. We're just between 10 of us, basically, which is going to be quite fun. And then I've got my 40th birthday later on in the month.
The night of 1,000 snatches.
Yeah, it should be good. And yeah, what else? On Monday, I'm on Monsters Up North. I basically begged Sammy to be on because they were doing one of my favorite films of all time, Event Horizon. So tune into Monsters Up North at the new time of 8 p.m. on Monday.
Will his
For that,
eyeballs
it should be
explode?
great.
Tune in to find out. And then on Sunday, the Nerdy Up North crew are reviewing Starship Troopers. Want to know more? Click on the links below. Oh,
You've been waiting all bloody episode for that.
oh, literally, I can die now. The yes, the inspiration for Helldivers 2. The so that is Sunday at I think that's 7:30 p.m. I think we've kept the regular slot on the Sunday, I believe.
I think so. I don't think it's changed, but either way, tune into our socials.
We have
on
been out of
Nerdy
the
Up North
loop.
on Facebook or here on YouTube, and you will see because I think we will have already programmed in the premiere or something for Sunday.
Me and Science Officer Synoiz have been very busy. I've been waiting to announce my top secret projects, and I'm still fucking waiting. That people will find out soon, I hope. But maybe never. We don't know. But yes, Starship Troopers on Nerdy Up North channel on Sunday, and then on Monday it is fuck. I've literally forgot. You just said it, and I have forgot. What is it that you're reviewing on Monday? Event Horizon. Right.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I need
Which
that.
is amazing because literally watching Event Horizon again, it made me want to play Doom 3. It made me want to play Dead Space. It made me want to play System Shock 2. All of these wonderful video games that we've had purely from this bizarre movie that didn't make its money back, you know? So it's kind of... It's
8 p.m. on
fascinating
Sunday.
how it works like that.
8 p.m. on Sunday. The time has changed, so it's 8
Okay.
p.m. on Sunday. But guys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, we will see you for another exciting and enthralling episode of Trekking Up.
Let's
North
not
next week.
overpromise here. Another
No.
episode.
No, I will continue to underdeliver. That's why it's called The Adequate. Until next week, though, stay safe, look after each other, don't be a gatekeeper, stop having a go at me, live long and prosper, and as always, Miles?
Can fuck yourself. Miles?
Miles?
Miles?